glad you followed me because I don't look anything like Ace. There you go.
Well, yeah, here's the thing, I look nothing like Ace. That was 20 years ago.
Warren, fantastic. So glad that you could join with us. We had a great Chinese last night, a bit of a chat, a great breakfast this morning. Fantastic. You've come down all the way from York. Thanks for being with us. You're travelling around, just reliving some of the glory days. But you got an important message for us.
Yeah, I mean...
Before we start, tell us, how did you get this name Ace? And should we call you Ace or Warren? What do you want to trip down memory lane or?
I think Warren will be fine.
Yeah.
I know it's not very glamorous, but it's my real name. So when I got the gig Gladiators, they did say to us, it was Nigel Lithgow and Ken Warwick, and they're the guys that produced the X Factor and Pop Island and these things now. And they did say to us, you can have some say in choosing your name, and they gave me a few weird options, But I did think when they suggested Ace that it was rubbish. Because, when you think about the, Rhino or the Mighty Warrior, and then it's like, and he'll be facing Ace. I just thought that's rubbish. So I didn't like it, actually. And then I remember Ken Warwick saying to me, you become a commercially important person once you become famous. Show business is a business, and therefore you want to look for affiliation with brands. And so he said, if you take the name Ace, McVitie's, the biscuit company, are bringing out a biscuit called the Ace. And I was like, right. And he said, so if you get called Ace, he said, you get £20,000 worth of advertising revenue straight away off the bat. I said, I love the name Ace.
There you go.
I love it.
Did the biscuits taste all right?
Well, actually, it's funny because there's a gladiator on the show called Mark, and his gladiator name, he said to me, you want to be really careful when you're choosing your gladiator name. And I was like, yeah, I know. He said, when I chose mine, he said, I thought it was a good name. He said, but I didn't know that I'd end up moving to America and becoming a movie star. Mark became Action Man in America. And I said, but you've got a good name. His name was Trojan. So I think that's a good, powerful name. He said, yeah, but in America where I live, that's a condom. So it didn't work too well for him. And I took the 20 grand and thought I was winning. And then when the Ace biscuit came out, it was so embarrassing. I haven't got a picture up there, but I've got a picture here. So can you see the Ace chocolate biscuit here with its foot on me? And then the tagline for it was Ace, the incredibly thick chocolate biscuit. See that?
Good choice.
So I wish I never took the 20 grand.
Ace, tell us. We saw a bit of the footage there. What was it like to be, a gladiator back in the 90s? Everyone sort of remembers Saturday night TV. What was it like? It was phenomenal.
It was incredible. I'd trained. I'd gone to the gym for so many years, and to suddenly be on. Back in the 90s, they say it was the golden age of television. So there was just 5 channels, and one channel had all the money, and that was London Weekend Television, and they were the only one that could do product placements. They had an endless budget as well. So, I was suddenly on the biggest show on TV, and it used to get 16 million viewers. So literally overnight, I went from being unemployed, living in the YWCA. I was actually homeless when I got that. Not homeless, in a hostel. And so I went from literally having nothing to having everything in one hit. So it was just like a dream, really, a lot of it. Because they literally sent me a big Mercedes the next day after getting the job, and it picked me up at the YWCA and took me straight to Heathrow Airport, and I got onto Air Mauritius with all the gladiators. There was Jet and Wolf, and all these famous people, and flew me first class to the Gladiators training camp in Mauritius, which wasn't really a training camp, it was just a party. Wow. So it was just incredible, you can imagine.
So, how did you become a gladiator? Because you grew up in Harlow in Essex, great place, that's where my daughter was born, how do you go from there to then ending up in the Gladiators training camp in Mauritius?
Well, growing up, I grew up with 4 brothers. My dad was a roof tiler, very working class. But my dad, he was a real good man, and he had some sayings. He used to say, "Dirty hands, clean money. Skills pay the bills." He'd say the secret to happiness was hard work. But I never actually witnessed that, us growing up, because there were so many of us, and it only take inclement weather, a bit of rain, and then we're all skinned. And so Mum and Dad would be rowing, and I used to think, well, Dad says that hard work makes you happy, but I don't know anybody who works as hard as my dad. And we're certainly not happy, and he's not. And actually, I started to notice that he started to live for the weekend mostly. You know, he'd do this hard work all week, and then the weekend would come, and it'd just be a few drinks, party the weekend, and then start it all again, you know, on the Monday. And so my dad as well, again, it was out of fear, I think, but he'd say, you're all going to be roofers. Skills pay the bills. So I can see his point. He wanted us all to have these skills. But I was like, I do not want to be a roofer. But all my brothers ended up roofers, and actually I became the black sheep of the family because I said, I don't want to be a roofer. I tried doing it as well. It's horrible. You used to carry the tiles up on your shoulder and was falling through the roof. And I had no physique, you know, when I was younger. So it's just a hard, horrible job. And so he said, well, what are you going to be then, son? And I was like, I'm going to be... it was a celebrity culture like it is now. And I said, I'm going to be rich and famous like Arnold Schwarzenegger. And he was like, what? But can anyone remember Arnold Schwarzenegger? Yeah. Great stuff. So he was my idol growing up. And I was reading his books. And I could see that being bigger, faster, stronger than everyone else really paid off. And as far as I could see, you know, here's a guy that he was the highest paid movie star in the 90s. And as far as I could see, he went to the gym, lifted weights, and made all this money. I couldn't see any real acting ability there. so I thought to myself, that's got to be the way to make money. So I started going to the gym, and actually I was really blessed in going to the gym because it was, you know, as all my friends were going out and drinking and smoking weed and stuff, I'd go to the gym. And it was built, I was a shy kid, you know, and so it built my confidence and stuff. I thought, this is great. And then people started saying to me, wow, you look good. You look well, and so as you make yourself different and bigger than everyone else, people sort of started to celebrate that. So I thought, well, I'm going to carry on with this. But
so how did you go from just working out in the gym, feeling good, and then the switch on to Saturday night TV on Gladiators? How did that?
So back then, you just had to write into the show.
Right.
So yeah, it was. Can you remember that? You won't remember that pen and paper and a letter.
Yeah. A little bit.
So just wrote into the show. It's the first reality TV show, Gladiator. So I just wrote in and said, I didn't say I wanted to be a contestant. Yeah. Just said I want to be a gladiator.
So what they write back and say, come on, audition. I mean, what do you?
Yeah, the telephone and said, come to a Gladiator audition, which was in Blackfriars in London, and it was horrible actually. So imagine it was just like this many people in a room, all built like Arnold Schwarzenegger, trying to kill each other. And then you sort of get chucked in the middle somewhere, and they say, right, there's one great job here where you're going to earn over 100 grand a year. Go for it. And so that's how it was. And I realised quite quickly that you're going to have a plan because most people were bigger than me in there, and they were like bodybuilding champions and stuff that wanted this plum job. So I realised quite quickly that if it's Saturday night television and it's a family show, that you really need to control your aggression, and that's not what I was seeing. People were literally trying to kill each other, you know. So I just sort of tried to smile as I was hitting people, and I think they picked up. It's more difficult when they hit you and you're smiling. It was difficult, but it worked. John Anderson, who was the referee, come over to me at the end, and this was strange actually. Can you imagine this? We'd all been fighting all afternoon. People were hurt, broken things and stuff, and he come over and he said, "You have got the job." I was like, "Really?" He went, "Yes, but don't tell anybody," and then walked off. And can you imagine all these blokes like, what did he say to you? I'm like, I didn't think I was going to get out of there alive. It was a bit strange, but media laws were, you know, you couldn't tell anyone anything. It all had to come through the paper and all these things. So that's the story really. So I went from nothing to everything pretty much overnight.
And so tell us what's that like? What does that do to your head in terms of, because we just sort of see, you know, the snippet on TV, all glossy, all great. I mean, it looks so much fun. What's the, you know, what were the positives, but then what's the reality behind the camera? It
was strange with my dad because, like I say, he had said that I was dreaming and it's never going to happen. Then it happened, and he was like, "I've got to say so. I've got to take my hat off to you. You know, you followed your dreams. That's a great thing." And I was like really smug. I was like, "Yeah, Dad, I know. I told you I was going to be a star." You know, and it's like looking back, it's like, man, when you say, "Well, how did your head go?" I think it disappeared straight at my own backside pretty quick. But the reality is, I was quite shocked with show business. You know, when I'd read about the trappings of fame and stuff, I had no idea really that it was a business. I was just a bit, I suppose, naive. I just thought if you can get on telly and make a load of dough, you're going to be happy because money brings happiness. And that was Schwarzenegger's message. You know, follow me, you follow me, and you can have this fabulous life. And so I think quite quickly what shocked me is in the 90s, the big stars, you know, the big stars of ITV were like your Rolf Harris and your Jimmy Savile and stuff. And so all this it's a bit like the Harvey Weinstein now, you know, the big stars, they're big money makers, Michael Barrymore, they were people saying what they like. And I was like, I knew they weren't who they said they were. You had this real and ideal like you have now. So in the magazines, they were like happily married men, but the reality was something far different. So it was strange, really, because it started to corrupt me, because I was like, well, this is a strange thing. The people that our society celebrate are actually perverse and corrupt. So I found that a little bit strange. And also with money, once I suddenly had this wealth that I believed would make me happy, actually it didn't. The money separated me from people. So my real friends suddenly started disappearing, and I just assumed, and even my brothers just said, we can't spend any more time with you. You've got so many clingers on and hangers on, we can't really be with a real you anymore. Everyone wants to know this ace off the television, and it's horrible. You're horrible to be around. And I just thought, well, they must be jealous, because I was getting into, as soon as you become commercially important, you can literally get everywhere and everything for free, So I was getting all to the best clubs in London. I'd gone from being really shy and having no girlfriends to girls queuing up in nightclubs and like top models. I was like, this is incredible, I was thinking, why don't my mates want to come with me, But of course, as much as I had that money, they weren't having that money. So It wasn't nice for them. It's like, well, it's okay for him. He's got all this. So I think the point I'm trying to make is that money, actually, that I thought that, this would make me acceptable and a success. Actually, I believe we're born for communion with other people, and real joy and love comes from being in relationship with people. But actually, I had no real relationships anymore. Yeah. So it started off as great fun as I was buying all the things I wanted. And I learned that as well, that you don't own property, property owns you. I thought when I bought a nice house, I'll be happy. And then it was actually, or a nice car, and then all of a sudden, all the car's scratched. I've got to sort it, and I'm running around after this. And in the end, I started feeling like a dog chasing its own tail, if you like. Yeah. And I think the icing on the cake for that was to stay in show business. Bear in mind, I had no talent. I was just some guy that lifted a lot of weights and ended up in a show. I had to play the fame game. And it's a bit like now, you've got the real and you've got the ideal. Because
you dated Kay Price, Jordan for a little bit and all that sort of stuff. So people, this is sort of the story of this is what the world wants and we want to chase this.
Yeah, but, well, she was voted, when I dated Katie Price, we got engaged, and when that happened, she was voted the second most beautiful woman in the world. I know things have changed a little bit now, but then it was something, she was absolutely stunning, but straight away I started to realise something's amiss here, because she was already playing the fame game. So she was in the Sun newspaper and the Star, and then they were having this poll on whether or not she should have a boob job or not, and so all this was going on, and she was quite astute and knew that the more she could get herself in the papers, the more money she could earn, and so I got drawn into that game, and I thought it was incredible, really. I thought, wow, this is, News of the World was in full swing then, Max Clifford and stuff, and it just seemed the more lies you would tell, the more money you can make. So what does that say to a young man? It's like, okay, so I watch my dad work harder than anyone I've ever seen, and yet everyone wants to know me. I'm on TV screens. I've got everything I ever dreamed of having materialistically. I've got beautiful women queuing up for me, yet I'm unhappy, and for me to keep this, I've just got to start telling lies. And that's what we did. We used to get up in the morning, make up a pack of lies, ring up the newspaper. When you see all this in newspapers, and people are like, oh, I've been packed. All of it's set up, You're making money and you're trying to keep yourself in the public eye. So again, that does something to your soul.
But the money's coming in, the camera's on you, all this sort of stuff. But it's doing something to your soul. And then, is it right? So you found out. How do you find out? So Gladiators finishes, or you wrap up. Tell us the story about. So you're on the screen one day, and it's all gone the next. Yeah. Is that sort of how it happened? How do they let you know?
Well, everything's subject to the law of impermanence. TV's no different. So it was given a lifespan of 3 years, the show. And actually it ran for 10. So, it went around the world, and we went to Australia, we went to all these great places with the show, but we knew it was going to end at some point, and they were going to be looking to supersede it with something else. So there was that insecurity. And also, as a gladiator, if you didn't win 70% of your games, you got the sack. So it was quite stressful as well. And then I remember one day they didn't tell us either, because, like I say, they're making deals in newspapers and that. They don't tell you anything. So there was a thumbs down on the front of a newspaper, and it just said, "Gladiators, you are deady." And I was like, "What?" So I have no job, and of course, my whole life was now built on this money and this lifestyle. So I had to go to the bank manager and sort of say, like, I think I ran into financial difficulties. It was very difficult actually going to the job centre. And they were a bit like, okay, how much, what are your skills? You know, Dad used to say skills pay the bills. I say, well, I can hit people with a stick. You know, and by now all my friends, like, they had good jobs, they were starting businesses, and they were like, oh, right, and how much money would you like to earn? And I was like, oh, well, we used to earn £2,000 an hour on our PAs, so that's the sort of money I need. And she was like, you're in problems, you know, so where do you go from that? You know, it's from having all this to suddenly it all being taken away from you. But now I realise actually it was the biggest blessing of my life.
And what did your dad say to you at that point? Because he was, clean money, work hard, and all the rest of it. What happened in relationship with your dad at that point? Was it sort of, I told you so, or?
Yeah. I mean, it's a tough one really because, like I say, he thought that by working hard, and playing hard, and these little that this would bring happiness to him, but actually it didn't, because his life choices. He spent his health trying to obtain his wealth. A mortgage. Someone was telling me recently that mortgage means death loan, right? So he's on this mortgage march to the grave, really, and he's like, well, when I get there, I'll be happy. And he started to realise, I think, that these life choices of drinking and smoking catch up, and actually not a lot of people make a retirement, especially in the industry he's in, breathing in asbestos and these sorts of things. So I think he was really, once he got to sort of 60, he was really disillusioned, and he was like, I've got it wrong and you've got it right. And I was a bit like, well, Dad, this is all corrupt. It all looks like stars and lights and glitter, but actually it stinks. There's no honesty in this, it's corrupt. So it's funny, we just sort of saw it from two different ends of the spectrum. What was the question?
Yeah, no, you've come from there, you've been to the heights, the glamour, the glitz and the rest of it, and now the show's ended. There's no more Ace, thing of the past.
Yeah.
What happened then? Where'd you go from there? In terms of, you've been to the job centre, you can't hit someone over the head with a stick.
Yeah.
What happened next?
Suddenly the glamorous girls suddenly disappear and find a new footballer, and you're like, man, what, so... but ultimately, I think I was blessed in that if you believe that, winning the lottery is going to make you happy, or having this much, money will make you happy, or if you have this, or if you have that, or if you can have this many holidays a year, and you find out actually for quite a young age that you have all that, and realise actually it doesn't bring happiness, and actually you realise actually it's a bit of a trap. Your happiness depends on something happening, and actually you learn the paradox of pleasure. Yeah. And what I mean by that is the more you get, the less it satisfies. And I just found that with everything, and I was like, what is, I know it sounds a bit deep, but I was a bit like, what is the point? Because a lot of people are buying into the idea that if I get this, I'll be having it. But like I say, because I'd experienced all that, and the show had ended at quite young, I thought, right, okay, I'm going to go on a quest. And because I was financially pretty secure at that point, I thought, right, I'm going to find out what the true meaning of life is. What's the purpose? If it's not about reducing life to a game of Monopoly, get as much as you can, buy your house, fill it full of stuff, make a few quid, and then when you die, give it to your kids and give them a load of money that they haven't earned. That made no sense to me.
Yeah.
So I went on a real spiritual search. But bear in mind as well, my dad had also taught me, because we had a brother that died. He said, listen, son, there is no God. Because I believe we're all spiritual vessels. And if that hunger for a spiritual is not filled, we're empty vessels. So growing up as well, I knew that there was a spiritual side, but I wasn't sure really what that was about. So my dad was like, there is no God. If there was a God, your brother wouldn't have died. And that made a lot of sense to me. So, there's lots of spiritual teachings out there. So I really went on a search, checking out lots of different religions and esoteric teachings. It was quite an exciting time, actually. My wife thought I was going mad at the time.
So what sort of questions were you asking yourself, and where were you searching?
Well, everywhere really. There's a lot out there that claims to offer you liberation, freedom and spiritual enlightenment. So I looked everywhere, but the major ones really. So I noticed that when I started looking at religions, firstly I'd like to say though that I did not want anything to do with Jesus, because like I say, I subscribe to celebrity culture. And the person of Jesus is some bloke floating around in a dressing gown and a pair of flip-flops. And he turns up and starts crying when he sees something evil. I was like, I don't want to be anything to do with that. I liked Christmas and getting presents and these things. I thought, that's pretty good, but I don't want nothing to do with this Jesus. And also, when I went into churches, don't be offended by this, but I was utterly bored. I'm sure your church is not like that. But that sit down,
They
stand
stay
up.
awake most Sundays, it's all right. Yeah.
Well, the other thing, of course, is because of my celebrity lifestyle as well, going into church, I always had a headache and a hangover on a Sunday morning. It's the last place I wanted to be. But I found standing up, sitting down, trying to sing these weird hymns, and I found it emasculating. I was this macho bloke, so I looked healthy and fit on the outside, but inside, actually, I knew that I was spiritually bankrupt and corrupt, actually, because fame does corrupt. So churches, I was like, and I remember asking a couple of vicars. I remember saying to one vicar, "What is it actually you do in here then? Is God really in here?" And he said, "Well, we do hatch, match, and dispatch." I'm like, "What's that?" He said, "Births, wedding, funerals." I was like, "Oh right, so you're like a business?" And he was like, "Well, no, I wouldn't say that." And I was like, "Well, it seems to me you are." Yeah. And then the more I saw, and if you look at what the media portrays a priest to be and stuff, it's like, stay well away from that. Yeah. So, and the other thing was, I saw a church in the end, like a speed camera. So it says it's there for your safety, to look after you, to make sure everything's great, but really it's there to generate revenue. Yeah. And that's how cynical I was with churches. So I wanted to stay well away from that, but I knew that I needed spiritual liberation. I knew that there was something missing that I needed.
So you were looking at all these different religions and so forth. So why didn't you sort of settle on something else? Because
they all offered spiritual enlightenment, but none of them actually delivered it. And the other thing that I found quite poignant was the fact that they all spoke about Jesus and Jesus' teachings. And I thought, why am I reading the book Buddha and he's speaking about Jesus? Why am I reading about Allah and he's talking about Jesus? Why? And so it's a bit like, why don't I go straight to the Bible where Jesus is just talking? And so, but I didn't realise that for ages because, like I say, I discarded that. And I also noticed that a lot of these teachings are a bit like a Ponzi scheme. They say, "Oh, buy this book," and really, all you're doing is you're elevating the fella at the top of the triangle, saying, "Yeah, I'm going to enlighten you," but none of it actually gave spiritual enlightenment. And actually, a lot of it was morally commendable. A lot of it contradicted itself. Life's about doing good and this, that, the other. And then it says, sit on a mountain and sort of, you are a, what's the one is it Hindu or Buddhism, where it says you are a human being, so just be. And it's like, okay. But anything that consumes without producing, that fails very fast in the real world, doesn't it? Yeah. And it's all right for the Buddha. He was born rich. He can sit under a tree and eat what he wants. But the reality of it is, none of it really added up. And actually, it was, and like I say, I examined the evidence. I'm not a risk taker. I had book piles this high. Eckhart Tolle. Has anyone ever heard of Eckhart Tolle? He's a big spiritual teacher in The Power of Now and spiritual enlightenment and these things. But again, another book, another teaching, and you've got to earn your stripes and you've got to do good and these sorts of things. So I realised that actually I was, again, a dog chasing his own tail. And so I did ask at that point, I was like, God, if you're really there, you need to reveal yourself, because I'm looking everywhere, but where there's truth, it would seem here. This is all, it keeps saying I'm going to transcend and these things, but none of it's happening.
And so where did that lead you in terms of you looking?
A next door neighbour who'd had a stroke actually said to me one day, I've got to believe that because he'd had a real tough time as well. He said that I've been put on this world for more than to just suffer. That's what he said to me. And I thought, wow, that's a real powerful statement. And I said, well, I'm a spiritual seeker. I'm looking all over the place and I'm wondering, really what it's all about. You just if you're lucky, you get 70, 80 years and then that's it, you're done. Don't make a lot of sense to me. And he said, well, Warren, I go to this fella's house on a Friday and he's a multi-millionaire. He's worth a few $100 million. And it's a bit strange, but fellas get together and they talk about spiritual things. And the guy I'm talking about is called Julian Rich, and he owns Richer Sounds, which is the biggest independent hi-fi trader and stuff. And he lives up near me. I didn't know any of this at the time. And I'll be honest, I just went there to network because I thought, I want to know this. I still was putting my faith in money. Yeah. So I thought, well, if I had lots of millions, this is the guy I need to speak to. So I went there really to meet Julian Richer. And I remember sort of wandering around and this guy's giving me a fork and he's serving me, and I'm thinking, who's this bloke? I just want to meet Julian Richer. And someone said to me, that's Julian Richer. I was like, why is he serving me? Usually when people are wealthy and famous, you can see it because they derive their whole identity from it. They've got the big car, the big watch, and they make sure that you know who they are because that's their identity. But he didn't, this bloke. There's something a bit different about him. Anyway, I'd heard as well that Prince Charles pays him something like 10 grand an hour for business advice. I thought, if I can get him for a couple of minutes and just ask him what the secret is, why does he seem to have a peace and an ease about him that most people don't.
Yeah.
So I asked him, and he said, do you respect me as a businessman? I said, well, of course I do. And he said, I'm going to prescribe 2 things for you. Will you listen to what I've got to say? I said, yeah, of course I will. He said, right, okay. Number 1, go on an Alpha course. And I just thought, oh no, another course. And he said, number 2, get baptised and come back to me. And I'll be honest, as soon as he said, get baptised and come back to me, I thought, oh no, he's a Bible basher. But the strange thing about that was, I thought, but what's he getting out of this? He's got more money than he needs. Why? He's not going to try and recruit me. What's he going to get from that? Yeah. So when I went back and told my missus, she was like, yes, you should go on the Alpha course, and I'll come with you. And I was like, right, okay. So we went on this Alpha course. Does anyone know what an Alpha course is? Yeah. Okay, so essentially, it's for those that don't know, it's a course where you can ask all the sort of questions you ask in the pub on a Friday night after 5 pints, but you don't have 5 pints in there. So you can, I've been into churches and tried to ask spiritual questions and not really got any answers, no adequate answers. But what I found is over this 6-week course of having a meal and sharing with other people who are searching spiritually, you could make some sense of it and get some answers. And the vicars and curates and that made themselves available. And I think the first thing that shocked me in that is my wife always believed she was a Christian, and as I was learning what a Christian is, bear in mind there's a big difference, I'm sure between religion and relationship. I didn't want nothing to do with religion, but a real relationship with the living God, that made sense to me, and so when I looked into what a Christian was, and I just, it means Christ in you, coming in by his Holy Spirit, and you then born to be a blessing, and you're in a relationship with God. And as they were explaining this to me, and my wife saying, yeah, I'm a Christian, I was like, when did Christ come into you then? There's no evidence of this at all. And I didn't mean that in a derogatory sense. Yeah. But we were
asking you questions.
Yeah, but we're just serving ourselves as a family. Our love is conditional. God is unconditional love. And we're just serving ourselves and our kids. I don't see any evidence that you're a Christian. How are you born to be a blessing? So it was really good because we got to ask these questions. But I think the thing that struck me the most in that course is the person of Jesus Christ. I had no idea that actually he really existed. I just thought it was a sentimental story for Christmas, and I was, like I say, I was a bit dubious of Christians. They all looked, again, don't take this the wrong way, but they all just looked a bit like simple. And when I say simple, I don't mean simple-minded, but they had an ease about them that wasn't striving. Do you know? I couldn't understand it at the time. I was thinking, why aren't they going to get? Why are they just like? I thought there must be something missing, And of course, I got that completely wrong. I'd just like to say.
Hey, we do the similar courses here in the cafe, so people come invited to come and ask any question they want.
Yeah.
Look, examine the evidence. We're onto the evidence, and so you were keen to not just sort of switch your brain off, but actually engage, and that took you. You were all over the country, weren't you? Looking at examining some.
Yeah, we live in a very blessed nation actually, and I had no idea that like the Codex Sinaiticus, the first Bible written, nearly 2,000 years old, it's in the British Library. Yeah. And the words that are in that are the same ones that are in this. Yes, there are religions and there's different cults and stuff where they change it, and then some other bloke will stick his name in it and say, oh, I've had fresh revelation since. But the actual Bible, it's in this country. I was like, man, that really exists. And then John's Gospel, fragments of it in the sacred text next to it. And then the Dead Sea Scrolls. And I think I drove the vicars mad because I'm like, I'm not having that. Yeah. And so I'd go and check it out, and I was like, well, where's the leap of faith needed then? I don't understand. If there's evidence for the person of Jesus, why is there a leap of faith needed? I don't get it. And again, I found it too good to be true. In a world where you get nothing for nothing, who can believe, really? When they told me this, said, do you believe, Warren, it's 2016, whatever it was at the time? I was like, yeah. So we're putting it to you that it's 2016 years since God revealed himself and come to the earth. And it was the most important event in human history. And actually, you might think, you seem to have this weird view of sin, that God wants to condemn you. He doesn't. He wants to restore you. He created you for a purpose, and he loves you. And anything that you do going your own way is what sin is. He wants to restore you. It's just you going your own way. It's just it's the middle word in sin. And I thought, that comes as a revelation to me. So when I was like, okay, so I've just turned away chasing women, cars, money, everything else from God, and all I need to do is turn to face him. They say that's what repentance means. So, that's literally all you need to do. If you can conceive and believe that. I say, then what happened? Then what will happen? And they said, then you will be filled, get this, with a supernatural power. I was like, right, okay. And this supernatural power is of God, and it's called the Holy Spirit. I was like, right. And what, tell me a bit more about it. He said it's the power of God on the earth. It moves like the wind. If you read Genesis, it's that power that moves everywhere in the world. And actually, God will fill you with that Spirit, and you live at the most unique time in history where God's pouring His Spirit out into anybody who believes in His Son. I was like, whoa, that's handy then, isn't it? and then he says, and you live forever. And all your sins past, because I ain't been a good person, I was corrupt, really corrupt. All them things you've done wrong, He'll forgive you for them by Jesus' blood. He'll forgive you for your sins now and forgive you for all the sins in the future. I was like, right. And what will this cost me? And he said, nothing, at the point of receiving it. And really, essentially, what I realised at that point is actually nobody had actually ever explained the gospel to me. Yep. People said Jesus is good news. And I'm like, well, why is He good news? He ain't good news to me. What? I don't understand. But then when you examine the evidence and see that actually it's incredible news. You know, in the Old Testament, only kings, priests and prophets got the Holy Spirit and God's power and these things, and He's reaching out. But actually, we live in the most exciting time to be alive. And you can be in a relationship with God. That's what you was created for. And the only thing, and I remember, I'll never forget the vicar saying to me, you know the biggest block between you and God? I was thinking, well, what could it be? What's the sin? And he said, you. I said, why? Because if you can come to the end of yourself, and this is the thing, you know, we get a lot of people now, especially in a country where we're comfortable. It will take a crisis for somebody to come to the end of themselves. But, you know, we think it's all about us. But he had me on that in the end. Because, like I say,
So how did that happen for you? Because, I mean, in a sense, fantastic story, but you didn't sort of come to the end of yourself in the sense of you went back on the street or, you know, terrible sort of things. But how did you come to the end of yourself in terms of, and sort of do that turning?
It was literally just on that alpha call. So I got into that situation with my wife, like I said, where we're debating about, she's saying she's a Christian, I'm saying she's not. And the vicar said, I said, well, you know, I don't see any evidence of Christ coming into you, and all the other tables are like, oh, this is going to turn into domestic. And the vicar went, Warren. And I thought he was going to say, get out, you know. And I was like, yeah. And he said, you're right. And as soon as he said, you're right, I thought, yes, I've got a vicar on my side. You know what I mean? And I was like, yeah, right. And then he said, and this was the great thing, and I think this is what we really need in this country. I think we need to be, we try and be so politically correct and inoffensive, but actually we're in an environment now where we're scared to tell the truth. But God is real and it's true. And, you know, we're all living in 2019. If we're living in that year, why are we subscribing to that? You know, it's like, he said, so what are you going to do about it? And I said, well, what do I need to do about it? And he was like, well, you know yourself that God is love and He's unconditional love, so He can't be in your life. So that came as a revelation to me. I thought that if you're born, God must love you. I had no idea that we're born into a fallen world in sin. He said, so you have to, God is a gentleman, you have to invite Him in. So you just have to say a prayer now. And again, that was alien to me. What? Where? Here? What, in front of everyone? Yes, shut your eyes, and this is what you should say. And so he said, if you can conceive, not just in your mind, but in your heart, that Jesus Christ is the Son of God. I said, yeah, I can conceive of that. The evidence shows that. And that he was, and lots of people see him when he was, when he come back to life, these things. And you can say sorry for your sin, and actually you can invite him in by saying, actually, I want to follow you. I'm fed up with going my own way. Or I realise that this is a nonsense way. You know, you're the purpose. You're the reason I was created. So I want to know you. So if you can say that, Warren, God will honour that, and He'll come in by His Holy Spirit. So I said that prayer there and then with my eyes shut. And like I say, because I'd examined the evidence and I'd read all these different books and that, I really fully believed that when I said that prayer, that I'd start elevating or something. Do you know what I mean? I thought that if you're going to be filled with a supernatural power, this is going to be great. So I said this prayer, come in, Jesus, I want to know you, Lord. I opened my eyes and nothing happened. And I thought, oh no, He's had me, right? It's like, nothing's happened. You know, and I joke sometimes, say I was expecting to go home like Bruce Almighty, you know, the traffic, high horse silver, and all the cars move out of the way, because you know God now. But none of these things happen. But having said that, that was 4 years ago that I said that prayer. And I am not the person that I was 4 years ago. My life is completely transformed from what it is to what it is now.
So you've examined the evidence of Jesus Christ, seen He is a person of history. You're convinced He claims what He claims to be, He is. You've invited him into your life. There's been that turning. There has been, not based on what you've done, but based on what he's done on the cross. What he says it's finished. You've turned back to him. Now, how does it change your life? You've got all this free gift of eternal life, God's Spirit living in you. Your feet are still on the ground. So what's the difference and what's the point?
I like to use the analogy, I really feel like I came out of the rat race into God's grace. And I didn't, like I say, with all this wealth and the trappings and these things, it was a rat race. And there was actually more pressure on me to be this person. And the reality is, in a rat race, the best you can become is King Rat. And I sort of was King Rat. But what I found is that once I came into knowing God and the reality of a relationship with the living God, is I suddenly had a peace and a freedom and a joy that I'd never known before. And I was always trying to prove myself. And it's almost like I just let go of the reins, not irresponsibly. And I know there's that cliche, let go and let God and these things, but God has restored my family. He's restored my children. There's so many different facets that have changed. And, I read the Bible and I listen to things. I take Jesus at his word. When he says, I come that you may have life and have it in abundance. I recognise that today I have an abundant life, a really abundant life that's not dependent on something happening to keep me happy. I have a joy that's not of, things being conducive to make me happy, just a real transformed life. And someone said the other day, well, Jesus will give you life after death, but actually he'll give you life before death as well. Because when Jesus came, he said, the kingdom of God is at hand. Repent, turn away from the things that you're chasing, come to me, watch what happens. And another one I like is where they say faith is believing what you can't see to start seeing what you can't believe. And that happens to me on a daily basis, like I see miraculous stuff. And just take, for instance, like now, I'm introverted by nature, but I know that, with the TV stuff, but I'm introverted by nature. And yet since becoming a Christian, the Holy Spirit coming in, my life is so blessed that I get to meet so many people. I come here last night on a train, and then we met up at Kiri's house, and we had a Chinese, a couple of beers, a chat, and this was all unconditional stuff. My old friends, before I was a Christian, some of them are still my friends, but they're conditional relationships. If you support this team, come out womanising, drinking, then you're my mate. Obviously, that's not what we did last night, Kiri, was it? No, it's just to clarify. But come down, have a lovely meal, have a couple of drinks, get to know people. I'm travelling all over, and then here today, enjoy a lovely breakfast, meet tons of really great people, and then get on a train, go back. It doesn't get any more abundant than that. And I have to pinch myself on a daily basis. I come back from Rio de Janeiro last week. They say life begins at the end of your comfort zone. And talk about come out of your comfort zone. So on a daily basis, I have to pinch myself. I can't believe. I was corrupt. I was going to prison at one point. I got charged with perverting the course of justice, dodging a speeding fine. I turned a 60 quid fine into a 20 grand fine. That's magic. But I was completely corrupt, and I was going to prison for these things. And now I go into prisons with the Archbishop of York. It's just incredible. But having said that, it's not all bright and beautiful. It's battles and blessings.
You brought your battle armour with you. Do you want to tell us a little bit about
that? Yeah. I just thought it's quite an interesting point, actually. So I managed to acquire this after a prayer, but actually it's the body armour that Russell Crowe wore in the film The Gladiator. And I go into schools now, and I talk to kids about the gospel, because, like I say, we are in a time now where truth cannot prevail. Everything's sort of plural and you can't. So I'm really blessed to be able to put this on and go into the schools and say to the kids, listen, I was a gladiator on the TV, which is nonsense really, but in Roman times, if you did something wrong, your punishment was they made you be a gladiator. They'd chuck you in that Colosseum and you had to fight to the death. But then someone turned up, and that was Jesus Christ. And the reality of that then hits the kids. Hang on, this is a historical figure. And the Romans said to him, he said, I'm the Son of God. And the Romans said, no, you're not. And he was like, yeah, I am. And you shouldn't be killing each other. And actually, it was them teachings that stopped the gladiator games, completely stopped it. But the Romans said to him, no, you're not. And they murdered him. They nailed him to a piece of wood, to a cross, and they killed him. And then he proved he was the Son of God because he came back 3 days later. And if you look at the history records, it's a fact because then the whole Roman Empire became Christian. Yeah. and I live in York now, and we have Constantine, the first Christian emperor, sat out there. And I just think it's incredible that I nearly missed all this. The whole reason I was born, the whole purpose for my life, I nearly missed it, chasing shiny, sparkly things. So,
fantastic.
Yeah.
Warren, fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing with us. And the rags to riches story, but even greater riches found in the Lord Jesus Christ, who's just offered you everything. And
Absolutely.
you've simply just not stopped going your way and gone his way.
Yes.
Gone out of the rat race into God's grace. Fantastic.
Absolutely.
Warren, we've got one more little surprise for you. Some of the people in the congregation have been busy, and they just want to turn back the clock a little bit, and I'm sure you're up for it. But I'm just wondering if could you tell us what are you supposed to do with these things? Maybe sort of.
Let's have a look.
I'm going to just hand you one in a moment. I'm going to invite someone else, but I've got it. Okay. Oh, done him. There you go. Here's yours. And I think Chaz was wanting to have a little combat fight. There we are.
Well, actually, the duel was the most popular game.
Really?
Gladiator,
Okay.
Yeah. And so when you stand on a circle there and you're 30, 40 foot in the air, you've got 10,000 people watching. What most people do, and what most men do, because they've had a little bit of boxing training and they protect their bodies, they stand to you that way. And it's like no contestant ever realised, all the gladiator had to do was stand that way. So if you hit me there or there and I'm stood like that, you don't go anywhere. Yes, you can get hit or you can get knocked in the air. Yeah. But a contestant was actually really easy to knock off. Well, this was a top secret gladiator. Because they would stand that way, you'd go like that or that, and they'd go, and then just one more tap, and they were off.
Oh, yeah.
But if I've got involved in your little gladiator game stuff, I think that if you were a bit of a sport as well, and
thanks for all your help, guys, all the volunteers.
You didn't know that.
Yeah. Guys, let's open up. Any questions for Warren? And do feel free. Come on. There's a bit of a cheap shot there, but do take him on if you really want to. Question over here in the corner.
Congratulations on the way you've turned your life around.
Thank you, sir.
A very contentious subject at the moment. What do you think of the religion of peace, as they call it, Islam? How does that fit into the world?
I think all religion is dangerous, actually. And I think the trouble is now, because we've become plural, you have what's called analysis paralysis. There's so much to look at that people are so busy with their lives, they end up with indecision. And indecision is a decision in itself to not pursue God. And so I really worry about religion, actually, because I think stand for nothing, fall for everything. And actually, I find it, we live in such a blessed country, and its foundational values were Christian. But yet we've come away, really so far away from that Christian heritage. But having said that, I think it's a really exciting time, because what I'm finding is actually in a time, especially kids in schools and at universities, because they call it the snowflake nation, whereas you and me can disagree. So I'll say I believe this, you'll say you believe that, but because we're not allowed to offend each other, it has to stop. So now truth can't get through in that situation. But what I'm finding is that when you stand on the word of God and proclaim it exactly as it is in the Bible, God honours that and opens doors, and actually there's then an environment for truth. So I'd encourage anybody, if you're in a situation where people challenge you and your faith, to just boldly declare who Jesus Christ is, and you find that it seems to, if it's out of the Bible, it cuts through like a hot knife through butter. So I think it's an exciting time, actually. Is that all right? Did that answer your question? Or not? Okay.
We can continue after. James, right at the back.
It's slightly in the same semi-religious tone. Any significance of your choice of hometown, York, that fabulous York Minster Cathedral, as opposed to you were brought up in Essex? How come York?
I met my missus in York. That was it. It was nothing to do with her. and I think this can be a preconception of a lot of people. They'll see a church and think it's about, I used to, I think, oh, these churches are like museums. You go in there, they're cold places, not very inviting. Where's God in this? I don't see any life. All I see is death and old things. So I think that a church is a community of people coming together, building each other up unconditionally. But there's no significance to York. Having said that, I love the fact that it's steeped in history. Absolutely, and I'm really blessed. Yeah, really blessed to live there. And actually,
I've walked the wall a few times, which is interesting.
yes. Someone was saying that to me earlier. It's about 5 miles, isn't it? It's a good workout, isn't it? Walking the walls of York. I recommend it.
Tim.
It seems to be these days that a lot of the young lads, they want to bulk up, they want to be sort of big muscles and everything, but having a lot of kind of food, nutrients and so on. I mean, what do you say to lads like that these days who seem to be sort of almost making a god of their body?
I'd say be careful. I think training's good. Looking after yourself, going to the gym is a really good thing, and it's a positive thing. It's very much a positive thing for me. But like you say, if you make there was a time where I was worshipping myself, idolising other bodybuilders and these things, and that's dangerous because obviously, like a religion, that can divert you from the reality of God, and it can actually divert you from the whole reason that you were born. And I spend a lot of time telling this to kids. Actually, God's created you. And yes, you're going to have a career, but he has a calling on your life, and he's created you unique and perfect as you are. You don't have to change who you are, change your genders to try and fit into a society. Actually, you're perfect exactly as you are. So when I go into prisons, I notice now that there's they seem to trade in eggs. So you go into prisons, there's just eggs on everybody's windowsill. And lots of people are bodybuilding in there and stuff, and these sorts of things. And it did occur to me that actually I was introverted and quite a shy kid. And actually, looking back, I think my bodybuilding was really a suit of armour, because I wanted to be accepted. I wanted to look good. I wanted to succeed in a life that says, it's about competition. It's about being better than the next person. But I'm glad to be liberated from that in a lot of ways. And the Bible says in Ephesians that when you know God, you don't have to wear armour anymore. Because he offers you an invisible armour. They call it the helmet of salvation, which essentially means salvation means you're saved. So you cross from a life of fear, I don't fit, I'm not accepted, or I'm going to die. We all live under the curse of death if we don't know God. But when you wear a helmet, an invisible helmet of salvation, it means you're saved. That's so liberating for me. I mean, when I got saved, I lost my fear of flying because actually I don't care. If I die, great, I'll meet Jesus. And so, all of these things are quite, this breastplate of righteousness, it's called in the Bible. It means that, if you're not righteous in God, you are self-righteous. And to most people, that's an insult. You say you're self-righteous. Oh, well, I'm not. Well, you have to be if you're not made righteous through God, and as you know that all wisdom comes from the Bible, and it's a lot more than knowledge. So I think if you're secure in God and you've got on that invisible armour, you can't go too far wrong. But I think essentially training's a good thing. But the difficulty is to get into the realms where you want to make money out of it or be celebrated or a sport. You have to then get into the realms of anabolic steroids. And then, of course, you've got the problem is you take the steroids, you're big, you come off them, you're little again. It's like Superman losing his kryptonite. And then, so, you can end up getting into drug addictions and these sorts of things, which is not good, actually, and it can cause a lot of health problems. So as long as your foundations and your roots are in God, I don't think you can go too far wrong. Thanks, Tim.
So having had the experience of going from this top celebrity, like you described, very a corrupt world and community, and having found Christ, and as you described, your life is pretty much changed. Do you feel yourself almost yearning to reach out to some of the old network, the people you knew in that life, and knowing that they don't know this truth and knowing the realities of what they've experienced and how
Yes.
Everyone hear the question?
Yeah. If you can you repeat it all?
So Warren reaching out to ex-gladiator mates and sort of in that sort of sphere of life.
Yeah. That's a really good question, because especially when I first got saved, you cross from death to life. You go from a life of fear to love. You want to tell everyone. It's so exciting. But essentially everyone has this preconceived idea that if you he's got God, he's going to try and convert me. So everyone initially, I find, takes a step back, he's going to mention God. So I think you have to be careful. I like that analogy of a shadow. You know, when you see a shadow, you chase it, and you can never catch it. But when you turn away, it follows you. And I think that's what's great about Christianity. It's not our job, actually, to switch the lights on. You can't talk anybody into the kingdom of God. You know, you can tell them about Jesus, tell them it's a reality, and actually there's more fruit in what they see in you than what you say, I think. So I think that the people that knew me before that are not Christians can see that I'm not striving, and I think there's more in what I don't say than what I do say. And I think that came to a bit of a head recently when we was asked to go to have a Gladiator reunion, you know, and pretty much the Gladiators were saying what they're doing now, you know, and most of it was health and fitness and these sorts of things. And I spoke about God, but I talk about TV, show business being a business. On a TV show, if you've got an agenda that's not theirs, if they're selling something, whatever, and you start talking about God, they tend to shut that down. So you
use the analogy of taking something out of a bathtub or something?
Out of a
little... remember, we saw the ITV clip. That something in your life...
So I tried to explain to Philip Schofield very quickly, because I knew it was live TV. He said, he was asking what everyone does. He says, what do you do now then, Ace? I said, well, I'm still a gladiator, Philip. He's like, oh yeah? He looked at me like I was deluded. I said, yeah, I'm a gladiator for the gospel. And he was like, where do you go with that? And I knew that he was going to then bypass me. And I wanted that audience to hear the truth of who Jesus was. So I thought I need to say something that he's going to need an answer to. So I said I had a turd in a swimming pool moment, Philip. And then he was like, sorry? I said, a turd in a swimming pool moment. And he's like, well, what's that? I said, nobody had explained to me that to know God, you have to recognise your sin. And would you get in a swimming pool if there was a turd in it? And it's like, no, of course I wouldn't. Of course I wouldn't. No, of course. You have to drain down the pool, get that filth out and bring it back up. And that's really what sin is. But nobody had explained that to me. And so it's great because, I mean, he did cut it short, to be fair. But it was great I was able to share that. But can you imagine, in the context of the other gladiators that all wanted to share what they're doing now and these sorts of things, it didn't go down too well. But I was happy because Jesus got glorified in that. But no, it's great to be able to talk to him. And actually, I believe God chooses us where we're at. So I think as Christians, if there's people around you that don't know him, it's not only our being obedient to tell them, not forcing it on them, it's being obedient, but actually there's a blessing in that. And there's a double blessing if you're persecuted. So when you tell somebody and it offends them, I find this incredible, really. I've spoke to people on the streets before, and they'll tell you to F off, and I go, bless you. And sure enough, a blessing comes in. It's incredible because you stepped out and did that. It would seem in the kingdom a bit like bodybuilding, that pain is gain. You know, the more pain that you'll go through for Jesus, the more gain it is in the kingdom, the more he'll use you, because God is looking, he's searching the earth for men of conviction. You know, and I think I was saying earlier, wasn't I? You know, the church, a lot of churches have emasculated a man. You know, they've let the woman just go and take the kids, and they've gone football and these things, but they're completely missing a trick. You know, life starts in knowing God. So, did I answer that?
Guys, can we show our appreciation to Warren? After Easter, we're running one of those courses where you can come and ask any question you want. We meet in the cafe or in this room. It'll be a short DVD presentation running through Mark's Gospel. Who is Jesus? Why did he come? What does it mean to follow him? But come and ask any question you want. Like Warren did, examine the evidence and see the wonderful truth of Jesus Christ. If you don't know him personally for yourself, that will be advertised just after Easter. But do come along tomorrow to our services. And can we get a round of applause for the kitchen staff as well? Fantastic. Well, many thanks. God bless. If you want to ask Warren any questions, he'll be up the front. Do come along and chat to him. If you want to have a go with the sticks, take it outside. Great. Thanks, guys. See you tomorrow. Cheers, mate. Good.